Hey guys, gals, and NBs, I have an interesting video I want to do today, and that is comparing the Brig versus the dm101 from Boss. So Strymon BRIG versus Boss dm101. Full disclosure, Strymon sent me the Brig a long time ago. By now, it's been a few months, but yeah, I made a video on it already, so that I have no money invested in. dm101 I do. I bought the dm101 myself. I've kept the dm101 because I like it so much. It sounds fantastic. I've had it for a while. I use it off video quite a bit for my songs. It has that nice sound, and I've used the Brig a lot in videos too, and also my own music. So yeah, my own money given to me by Strymon, but that's not going to change anything about this, at least in my opinions. So yeah, I have the Dreadbox Nymphes here, a new synth. Sounds absolutely fantastic. The only thing I don't like about it is the built-in reverb sounds really bad in my opinion. But the analog synth portion of it, which that's its thing, is fantastic in the size. It's just so tiny. It's look at this thing. Look at it compared to a guitar pedal. But yeah, and it's fully analog. So it sounds really cool, and that's what we'll be using, and we'll go over some things, and we'll go over stereo modes and some little differences here. So one of the things that makes this interesting is I think the Brig sounds fantastic, and the dm101 sound fantastic, but the price point is the Brig is almost half the cost. This is $260, this is $500. So yeah, let's get into it. I have the modern mode on. I have this in the 3205. I have tap tempo. I'm using external tap tempo because it's really hard to use internal tap tempo and then use the bypass at the same time. But they're tapped in about the same time and then the same subdivision, so they should sound same enough. Mod is off on here and mod is off on here because this adds an unfair advantage. This has a stereo modulation on it, and it sounds really good. This does not have stereo mod. This has stereo modes, but no stereo modulation in its modern and vintage modes and things like that. But yeah, we'll get over stereo modes as well. But yeah, let's just listen to it. So here. The Brig is obviously quite a bit thinner in its sound, and I really can't filter it in the same way that this sounds, but maybe around there it's a little fuller. But if you listen to the end of those tails, the not the modulation, but the distortions and aliasing sound very similar. I believe the Brig sounds much more hi-fi, but yeah, I like both of them a lot. The one interesting thing I will say, Strymon nailed the compression and companding artifacts that they both have, obviously. To keep the noise low on a real analog delay, they use companding and things like that, so compression and expanding. So here, I think this is what the noise is, and it sounds pretty cool. So here, I'll get the buffer full. And now I'll play a higher frequency, and what will happen is it'll duck out the lower frequency because it can't reproduce it, and there's some compression artifacts because of that. Hold on. See how it just takes that over, and it kind of it ducks out the frequencies a little. I think that's the companding circuit. I could be very wrong on that, but that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Now we'll go over to the Brig, and the Brig does the same thing. A little more noise on here, but yeah. Yeah. So just interesting that Strymon went through the effort of really emulating an analog delay versus just taking a digital delay and filtering it like so many other companies do when they say that it's a faux analog delay. So yeah, I think that sounds really great. To me, I think they both sound fantastic and they both have their place. I use the Brig when I need something a little cleaner but still analog feeling, and I use the dm101 when I need something darker and murkier. Though they both have stereo modes, I think the Brig sounds better, and let's get into that. So I'm going to go into the pan mode here on the dm101. It's magical in the terms of it, just how it filters out and how it sounds and how wide it is. It's just, now let's go over to the multi-mode on the Brig and you'll see what I mean. The way the Brig just stays and it filters out. In stereo mode, the Brig is my favorite. Just listen to how that filters out and how lovely that is. So yeah, let's add a little modulation to both of them. Wonderful. I think the modulation on both is fantastic. The Brig, again, if you're in one of the non-stereo modes, let's do this. Yeah. This adds stereo, so this has an unfair advantage. Now if I go into modern here, and modulation sounds really good on this, but it's not in stereo. Yeah, I love that little artifact. It's more evident when you have the filtering down. Very cool. I love that. All right. So yeah, not much more to say. I kind of just wanted to compare them. It was going to be a quick video. I really just wanted to see how the Nymphes sounded and let everybody hear, because I kind of put up a teaser picture of it, getting that just recently. And I thought this would be a fairly apt comparison. Let's turn down this again. Let's try a pad, I guess. We'll just do a quick pad. We'll do this. That's a little... The envelopes can go on forever on this. Let's do this. A little resonance. Let's try that in stereo. right. Well, yeah. So that answers my own personal question too. I wanted to see how they really sounded with each other. I believe the Strymon algorithm, for being digital, does one of the better jobs of faithful Bucket Brigade, like emulation. I think that the Starlight, the Universal Audio Starlight, does a more faithful job of it, but the Brig as a creative tool, I think sounds better overall. So now, obviously, dm101 is a real Bucket Brigade delay, and it sounds fantastic too, and it has the noise and everything to go with it. But in an ambient context, I love the Brig, especially in the multi-mode. This is one thing that this obviously can't do. This can do 2 seconds of delay time, so let's just count that in. Yeah, it's not 2 seconds, but yeah, it'll do a long time. Watch. Let's make it plugged again. You can hear that resonance in that filter. Just so much time that can do. Now let's switch over here. Let's switch to the pan mode, and I think the longest this can do is like 500 milliseconds or something low like that for for the pan mode. I really can't give a recommendation for either one of them and which one's better. It has to be for your use case. I will say that the Brig gets you almost there to the dm101's capabilities at half the cost, so if that's a thing for you, that's great. The dm101 is truly analog and it sounds fantastic. Obviously, they both sound fantastic. The big plus I will say on the Brig, though, is if they need to change anything about how it sounds, they could potentially do that in firmware, where the dm101 is always going to sound like a Bucket Brigade device. Delay, there's no filter on it or anything like that, and they can't make any little changes. One thing that I hope that Strymon possibly does in the future is gives us the option to take down the resonance on the filter. I think that would add a lot, at least for my use case. I mean, your mileage may vary on that, but I wish you could turn off the resonance. That's about the only major complaint I have on the Brig for having it for so long. The dm101, not many complaints other than it's very expensive and there's no filter in it. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. If you like to see videos like this, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe.